Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome to another episode of Almost Rich, Almost Famous, Almost Daily. Bridget and I are so excited to have somebody that I personally am obsessed with, have been following for a while now. So excited to introduce you guys to our guest today.
Yes, and now I've jumped on the bandwagon, have also become obsessed. He is celebrity happiness coach, Ivy League educated, positive psychology expert, published author, TV host, producer. The guy does it all. You probably have actually seen him on E!, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Access Hollywood. Basically, he lives my dream of going on all these like big famous shows, but I love him anyways. Rob Mack, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. That was like the best introduction ever.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm really working on my hosting abilities. Thank you.
That was legit. By the way, I'm obsessed with you guys, and I mean that. Just love your energy. I love what you guys do. I love the show. And, I also love that it's short form. It's just beautiful. It's punchy. It's pithy. It's awesome.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. You guys, I promise we did not tell him to say that.
No, I didn't. I'm not going to invoice them either.
So, Rob, your book here, Happiness from the Inside Out, The Art and Science of Fulfillment, has become my Bible during this quarantine. So if you want to just kind of take a step back and tell us a little bit about what a happiness coach is.
Yeah. So first of all, love you to death even more. I don't even know how you got that book. I so appreciate that. For me, I took like the long scenic route to happiness and becoming a happiness coach. I was suicidal for years. I was just hated myself. I hated my life. And I had a really interesting thing happen when I went to kill myself. I dug a steak knife in my wrist. And honestly, in that moment, I experienced more peace than I'd ever experienced. Nothing in my external, like objective circumstances, conditions of my life changed, but on the inside, I felt differently. So I just postponed suicide at that moment for like an hour. That was like it. That was like 1 hour is all I could commit to. And believe it or not, that just slipped into several days and weeks and then years now. I look back 2 decades ago, and that's when that experience happened. But the entire time, I just did a lot of research on happiness, and I tracked everything that worked, put it all in the book, and before long, it became a private practice, and so I teach other people how to do the same.
And Rob, right now, so we love following you on your Instagram at Rob Mack Official. For anyone not following him yet, you're always giving fun tips and tricks and how to find happiness, how to find positivity in any situation. So right now, when we're all basically miserable and quarantined, can you give us like quick, easy ones that we can all maybe change in our lifestyle to feel a little bit more happy?
Yeah, I love that. So I'd say number one, just stop thinking. Like people really underestimate the value of that. And I would complicate it myself. I mean, 2 decades doing this work, it took me a long time to come to a place where I was like, I'm going to actually practice not thinking. I'm going to do everything without thinking. Can I like Swiffer and do the laundry without thinking so much and worrying and plotting and planning like my life out, without trying to forecast what the next day or the next week or the next year was going to look like. So that one tip, honestly, if you could just practice breathing and enjoy breathing for its own sake and not thinking while you do most of what you do, that's the only tip you ever really need.
Yeah, that easy, huh?
Yeah, just take some practice. I'll tell you that, obviously, but you have to be intentional about it. The other thing is exercise. I know everybody's putting up their little exercise, like home routines, but exercise like 30 minutes a day, moderate, doesn't have to be anything intense, but that's the equivalent to taking like an antidepressant or anti-anxiety pill. So those 2 things help. Also scheduling or structuring your day somewhat helps. And then fourth, I'd say find some activity, something that lets you get completely lost in it, like something that's all consuming, that's positive. Ideally, it's not just, watching Netflix or whatever, although it's great, but something that's creative.
What is your release? Like, obviously, those are all amazing tips. What is your personal release, especially during this time?
Yeah, so I'd say it's running. I go for a run, and I wouldn't say that I'm by nature a runner, but I grew up and I ran cross country, and I mostly was just used to going to the gym all the time. But now I go for a run, and I'm kind of obsessed with beating my personal record on the running thing. So, I'd say that's a release.
What is your personal record?
Oh my goodness. Well, when I was like 18, which was only a couple of years ago, clearly.
Yeah.
Right. For all of us. It was like, I don't know. I think I ran 3 miles in probably about 15 minutes and 20 seconds or 15 seconds, something like that. So I'm not quite there, but I'm getting there.
I was gonna say that's pretty fast, Rob.
Yeah, it's overrated. Let's be honest. Who wants to be out of breath in that way for that long?
So
I know, I wanted to ask, so going back to what you were saying, I mean, first of all, incredible that you felt that much misery and you've come out of it stronger than ever and now helping other people find their happiness. So when you said you just found out how to be happy, how did you figure out that it's your mind and just your own
Yeah,
thoughts?
great question. So in the beginning, I didn't know that. I was mostly a realization and recognition that if I was going to live, I wanted to live as happily as humanly possible. At that time, I had I had an amazing life. I had 2 beautiful German cars. I had a beautiful girlfriend at the time. I had a great job. I made good money, and I was just so miserable. So I began to see through like this illusion that is great stuff and lots of money and even a healthy body. It was like not making me happy. Any of it wasn't. So I began to see through it. So then I said, well, maybe I should just start doing different things. So in the beginning, it was just like, I'll do happier things. And that was very helpful, actually. Like, not doing the job that you hate is a good first start. And so over time, though, you even begin to see through that because you're like, well, it's so interesting because this day I love spending time with so-and-so, but the next day I hated spending time with them, or I hated doing this thing that I did 2 days ago. So then you see, oh, happiness isn't just what you do. Maybe it's more a state of mind. So then I started practicing more positive thoughts, and then that became very helpful. And then I got to a place where finally it was like, this is taking me as far as it can. And now there's this low-level anxiety underneath the positive thinking. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you're like, oh, I gotta think positive, I gotta think positive. It becomes like another to-do item. It's like another chore. So then I started practicing this I call it practicing the presence, but just not thinking while I spend time with people, not thinking while I clean or whatever. And I realized that there was perfect peace in that. And so it was a multi-stage kind of experience, but mostly I just applied everything I could read or get my hands on. And I just kind of kept what worked and I lost what didn't.
So if we were going to read one book right now, obviously other than yours.
Yes.
What book should we read to help us practice happiness and try to get to that place of being content?
Such a great question. I'd say if you're into scientific-ish books, if you're kind of into science, I'd say The How of Happiness is a great book. It's really one of the greatest or best, I think, positive psychology books. If you're more into a self-help or even spiritual space, I'd say that Abraham Hicks has a great book called The Vortex. I love that book. The language might be new for some people, but it's fantastic. And then if you're really wanting to focus more on not thinking, I'd say Power of Now is always fantastic. I mean, I don't think that book ever gets old. Yeah. Be As You Are by Ramana Maharshi is phenomenal. I mean, it's just so succinct. I also love Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So he was a philosopher king way back in the day, but he wrote very simple little, almost sutra-like statements. But I'd say any of those books are fantastic. I haven't read a book to this day that I didn't find something valuable in. But I would say those are my top probably 3-4 recommendations.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So our podcast, it's called Almost Rich, Almost Famous. So I would really like to be famous.
Yeah.
So I love when you're in the spotlight. What?
I thought you were.
No, just when I thought I couldn't love you anymore.
You're famous
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
But Betsy doesn't really care about being famous. She just wants a lot of money. So right now we're in quarantine. It's hard to find happiness in anything. How do you think that we should find content in being almost rich and almost famous?
Yeah. So I would say find the one thing that you would die for or live for and spend as much time doing it as humanly possible. I mean, that's all I've ever really done. I mean, it's the one thing. And it's interesting because when I was very early in my career, I was chasing things. I was chasing like fame and TV shows, and I was pitching TV shows, and I had celebrity friends that were pitching them with me, and we couldn't get any traction at all. And same thing with the book. And then I let all that go, and I said, you know what? I never got into this business to be rich or be famous. Yes, it's great because you can help a lot more people with more money. You can help a lot more people with a lot more popularity and fame. Right. And that being said, all those things seem to come when I didn't need them at all, right? So more of that comes when you don't need it. So odd, but nothing really does attract everything. So I'd say the greatest tip and trick I ever have discovered is really find something that you would live for, that you do live for, or that you would die for, and spend as much time and energy participating in that activity or creating meaningful work around it. And it's interesting how everything else sort of finds you, I think.
Oh, that is amazing and perfect.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered that question. I don't know if that was the right.
No, it was. It was great.
Perfect. And that's why you're out here making the big bucks. Bridget.
I don't know about that.
Soon with you.
Yes.
Let us know, let our listeners know where they can follow you.
Yeah, so you can find me on all social media platforms at Rob Mack, M-A-C-K official. You can find my book everywhere great books are sold, including Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And you can also find me at my website at Coach Rob Mack.
Okay, before you go, I have to ask, are you wearing sweatpants or are you wearing a full suit right now?
Yeah, no, I got like dress pants on.
Dang.
Yeah, I don't do the full suit normally because it feels a little bit too, buttoned up, but I do, slacks and everything like that.
Well, Rob, me and Betsy actually did our hair and makeup for you, but I'm not going to lie, I'm still wearing the sweatpants.
I love that, though. It's so fun. You too, Betsy? Yeah.
Sure are.
See, so it's like you're beautiful and formal and fashionable up top, and then down low, it's all party.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we like to say.
Clean this up here. We're good to go.
You guys are so beautiful, and you have such beautiful energy, though. I think you could get away with wearing a potato sack on your head to be just fine.
Rob, you are the best. And I'm telling you, once quarantine and this pandemic all passes, we have to get you on for a full episode of Almost Rich, Almost Famous, because we love you so much. We've taken so much away from you and your Instagram and now today as well. So thank you again for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, it has been my pleasure. I mean that. You guys have made my day. And maybe we'll do that episode from like Miami or LA. Huh?
Oh,
in person.
Even better.
We do that one in person. Bridge, we're going to save that one for when we can get to LA with Rob.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Love it.
Thanks, Rob.
Do it.
Cheers.